And we are back for Game of Thrones Season 8 Fixed, continuing on my fan fiction of what I would have done for Season 8. So in the 4th episode, I would have Daenerys' forces on the march, Dothraki, Unsullied, Northmen, Wildlings, Dany as a horse, and Drogon in the sky. Tyrion comes in and rides to Dany's side. The scouts report that the army of the dead walks 2 days ahead of us. Good, I think we should keep a prudent distance. And Euron's fleet? Still at White Harbor, making sure we don't double back. Any sign of Jon Snow? No, Your Grace. His group has not reported back for days. Perhaps they are lost? I'm not an idiot. He's racing ahead to the Twins, trying to supply Cersei's forces with dragonglass. No, that cannot be, Tyrion would say unconvincingly. All right, but would that necessarily be a bad thing? Your sister's betrayal may have cost us Winterfell. It may have cost me Ser Jorah and Missandei, and my child Rhaegal. I will not forgive Cersei, nor people that follow her. Yes, but cannot we deal out justice after the army of the dead is defeated? There is no use in having the Golden Company cut down by the dead. Don't you have other issues to attend to? Of course. I'm sorry, Your Grace. Tyrion would then ride back to his brother. Our queen is going to do it. She's going to let the army of the dead slaughter the Golden Company. I can't say I blame her. Will you blame her when she kills our sweet sister? What do you care for our sister? Tyrion would shrug. A lifetime ago, Catelyn Stark arrested me, thinking I won a dagger from Peter Baelish in a bet. It all had to do with that tourney on Joffrey's 15th name day, when Loras Tyrell unseated me. That's the one. He was a better jouster that day. Everyone could see it. A far, far better jouster. Excuse me, but I bet on you anyway. I always bet on you. Because we're kin. Is that why you gave Daenerys such poor military advice? Because Cersei is a Lannister? Tyrion laughs. No, I genuinely thought attacking Casterly Rock was a good idea. Well played on your part. Still, I do admit, after all of this, as much as I hate Cersei, I still do love her. Don't misunderstand me. She's still the bad egg of the lot. Oh, she's not the bad egg, Jamie mumbles before changing the subject. Did you see that someone stole my golden hand? He lifts and shows off his stump. Right out of my tent. Well, Brienne's tent. It seems the Northerners still hold a grudge against me. Or someone wanted to die a rich man. That hand is worth a fortune. I'm going to find and kill the man who did this. Behind Jamie and Tyrion, there is a smirking Arya. The Hound rides to her left, Sansa to her right. Sansa looks miserable with the wound across her face. What are you so upset about? My face? I'll never look the same. You don't see me complaining. Or her. She lost a bloody hand. I hope you killed the cunt who did that to you. He was already dead, Arya replies. Did you kill the cunt who did that to you? The Hound groans. I wake up every day thinking about how sweet it would be to kill my brother. But it's not for what he did to my face. I'm not that vain. For what then? Asks Sansa. Forget it. I bet it was over a girl. Aye, it was over a girl, the Hound barks. And she was nothing like her shit brothers. She was kind and smart, with fiery red hair. The Hound realizes his outburst and contains himself. My little bird. What happened? Arya asks. A horse kicked her, my dear brother claimed. They ride for a bit longer. Why haven't you killed him? I'm no kinslayer. I'm not your kin. No, you're not. Arya then wheels her horse around. The Hound and Sansa stop. Where are you going? Back to White Harbor and then to King's Landing. I'm going to kill Cersei and the Mountain and end this. Sansa and the Hound look dumbfounded before finally the Hound says, I'll make sure your sister doesn't get herself killed. How are you going to get past the Ironborn? Sansa will yell, but the Hound and Arya are too far gone. We would then cut to Bran riding double with Brienne. Sam and Little Sam ride beside them. Bran's eyes are white from skin changing. How long has he been gone? Sam would ask. All morning, most of yesterday and the day before. He returns to eat and sleep, but doesn't say much. Do you know what he's doing? Looking for answers for all of this. We would then jump back in time with Bran. This time Bran stands at the Fist of the First Men. Unlike in Season 2, a circular fort stands at the Fist. A group of soldiers are there as well, packing supplies onto horses. That's the last of it, a man at a horse would say. This is their land now, a different man would say. A shame. What of the dragon glass? We're to give it to them. All of it. Do you trust them? Silence would be the reply. I say we bury it. Just in case. The men would put down a black cloak and put their obsidian daggers and arrowheads inside. One man would throw in his horn. I won't need that anymore. They would move a large stone on top of the stash. Should I mark it with anything? Yes. Best get a chisel. Right. A dragon would roar, awakening Bran in the present. Drogon is flying overhead. Bran would look over to Sam riding. There, among his possessions on the back of the horse, he would see the horn. We would then jump to Jon and the wildlings riding down the King's Road until the land becomes too swampy to ride. It's a complete marsh with reeds here and there, but mostly mud and water. Jon's horse sinks to its knees before turning around and pulling itself out. The road's flooded, a wildling would yell as the group comes to a halt. Jon would be frustrated. We don't have time for this. We need to get to the Golden Company. It doesn't look like we're getting there by land, a wildling would say, looking out on the flood, which goes as far as the eye can see. The men would then hear something behind them in the mist. It's the dead. They've caught up to us, a wildling would yell in panic. The men would pull out their weapons. From the mist, a figure would emerge. A bowman, living. Then another, then another. Then some would pop up from the reeds, hidden here and there, everywhere. Jon and the wildlings are outnumbered and surrounded. Crannig men, Jon would mumble. Hold your fire, a woman's voice would say. That woman would be Mira Reed. Jon Snow, the bastard brother of Brandon Stark. You know me? I spied you once north of the wall, when we were escaping Craster's Keep. You're Mira Reed. You helped Bran. Helped, Mira would say bitterly, if you can call it that. Your father is Lord Howland Reed. He rode with my father. My father is dead, as is my brother, thanks to your brother. I am the Lady of Greywater Watch now. Jon would be disappointed, and then ask, why did Greywater Watch never respond to Winterfell's ravens? What, did Brandon Stark want more people to die for him? Ravens have a difficult time finding Greywater Watch. It moves, you know. Please, Jon would say. The army of the dead marches south. Winterfell has fallen. We need to get this dragon glass to the other side of the neck. Mira would shake her head and look at Jon. You Starks. All you do is ask for help. We would then jump to the Stormlands with Davos and Gendry meeting with a lord. A Baratheon survived. Who would have guessed? The lord says. And he's the spitting image of Renly Baratheon. Davos would look at Gendry, tilt his head, turn back and say, absolutely. House Swan salutes Gendry Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, and will, of course, provide our swords. Let us toast our new lord. Wine is brought before the men. To the father and the mother and the maiden, the lord would say. To the crone, the smith, and the warrior, Davos would respond. And R'hllor, Gendry would mumble before drinking. Davos would look puzzled. Davos and Gendry would then be walking back to their ship. I did not know you were a fan of the Lord of Light. I figured you wouldn't fancy a religion that covered you with leeches. I spent more time with Beric, Gendry would say. He really opened my eyes. He came back from the dead, you know. I saw it. Not that last time. He played his role in the Great War. And that role involved selling you as chattel, if I recall. I was needed then, just as I'm needed now. Davos would stop dead in his tracks. Gendry, the Red Woman burned an innocent girl, your cousin, in the name of R'hllor. And that led to me becoming Lord of Storm's End, to help the world. What happened was horrible, but it was all for a higher cause. The thing about higher causes is that everything else, everyone else, becomes lesser and expendable. You're the last Baratheon. You have a real chance to change things. Davos, Gendry would say, I'm more than just the last Baratheon. I'm the last brother. We would then cut to Varys and Sunspear, waiting on the new Prince of Dorne. The new prince enters with his entourage. Ah, the most beloved eunuch in the world, he would say sarcastically. I'm sure you are here to bring me nothing but good news. Sadly, my dear prince, I come here requesting your assistance. Ah yes, for Daenerys Stormborn, the mother of dragons. The great and powerful, your queen. The woman who put Dornish soldiers on a boat and immediately let them drown. That was an unfortunate attack from Euron Greyjoy. I was hoping that you would honor the alliance that Ellaria Sand made with Daenerys. Ellaria the usurper, the woman who so brutally murdered my cousin and his son. The woman who tried to steal my lordship. I have no love for her, and I have no love for Daenerys. Then perhaps for a different Targaryen. What if I told you that Rhaegar Targaryen had a son? Yes, I know, he was smashed against a wall, and my cousin Oberyn died trying to bring him justice. That too was unfortunate, but no, I mean a second son, by Lyanna Stark. Lyanna Stark, the shrew that Rhaegar Targaryen tossed my dear cousin Elia aside for? Why would I support such a bastard? Varys would lose his patience. You Dornish always find a reason to be obstinate. An army of the dead marches south to kill all of mankind. You know this. Yes, the ravens from Maester Wolkin have been very entertaining. A Night King, he says. Very scary. Oh, he is, that's for certain. I've seen him with my own eyes. And they have dragons. We Dornish have fought against dragons and repelled them for years. Dorne has never been conquered, need I remind you. Unbowed, unbent. Unbelievable, Varys would say. Perhaps I'm wasting my time. Varys would get up and walk towards the door, only to stop himself. He would sigh and turn. If not for homage, and if not to help save the world, then perhaps for yourself. What are you talking about? A great mind once told me that chaos is a ladder, and there is no more chaotic time than now. You can stay here in Dorne with your dwindling wells and your failing crops and lament the greatness of Nymeria and the Rhoynar until you die meekly in your chair like Doran Martell. Or you can march your armies north and see what opportunities unfold. The Prince of Dorne would stare at Varys for a bit, and then turn to his assistant and say, "Call the spears." We would then jump back to the swamps of the Neck where Jon and Mira were, but they are now nowhere to be seen. Instead, dead men come out of the mist, walking forward. A few stumble into the mud and begin sinking until they're submerged. A few more enter the mud quickly, becoming stuck and helpless. After about 20 or so wights fail at crossing the swamp, the army of the dead stops. Then they part, as White Walkers come forward. A White Walker dismounts his horse and walks over to the mud. He then steps forward. The mud freezes beneath his foot. We can see crystals form. He steps again, and again the mud freezes. And again. A second White Walker appears and joins his companion. Then a third, a fourth, and fifth. The 5 walk forward together. In their wake, a bridge made of ice and frozen mud. Behind them, the army of the dead follows. We would then jump to Jon and his wildlings. They are in small boats with crannogmen being ferried across the swamps. Jon and Mira share a boat. "I know who you really are," Mira would say. "What do you mean?" Jon would ask. "You're the son of Rhaegar Targaryen. I'm sure Bran told you." "How did you know?" "Bran told me as we traveled back to Winterfell, and my Lord Father confirmed it before he died. He was there with Eddard Stark and your mother when you were born. It's not important." "You're right. It's not important. My father and brother had grand ideas about fixing the world, and I was part of it. It seems so. It was stupid, though. Worse than stupid. Reckless and cruel. The right lineage to unite the people. They didn't realize that only starts wars. It doesn't end them. And their plans got Jojen killed, and Summer, and Hodor, and Osha, and Rickon, and countless others. For what? Bran has a gift now." "A gift?" Mira laughs coldly. "And what good has that done? Tell me, how did the wall fall?" "The Night King used a dragon." "And how did he get that dragon?" Jon looks ashamed. "We brought it north. We were looking for his army." "And who told you where the army was?" "Bran," Jon would admit. "You're not making things better, Jon Snow. You're making things worse." The boat would then make it to land, and Jon would get out. "Thank you, my lady. I am truly sorry for your losses." Mira would smirk bitterly. "At least some Starks have some manners." We would then jump back to Dany's army, now resting for the evening. Sam and Little Sam would be next to Bran, his eyes still white from skin changing. Sansa would approach and ask to speak to Sam, and they would walk into the woods a bit. "I do hear if things go well, Sir Davos and Lord Varys will be leading the Stormlanders and Dornishmen north. They will be joined by my cousin's reinforcements from the Vale. Can we count on the Reachmen?" Sam would be utterly confused. "Count on? For what? When the time comes, we can avenge your father and brother. We can all be free, once and for all. The North free, the Vale free, all of the 7 kingdoms. You could be king in the Reach." Sam would be shocked. "You want more war? We may not even defeat the Night King, and you're thinking beyond that?" If we aren't moves ahead of her, we're moves behind her. You think she won't burn you or little Sam like she did the rest of your family? That would make Sam wonder. Let me think on this. Meanwhile with Bran, Jamie would see him from afar. Bran's eyes would return from skin changing. Jamie would walk closer. You could have revealed what I did to you. You were likely to die on the battlefield anyway. And yet here I am, and you still haven't had me executed. Why did you push me? Jamie pauses. To protect her. And who protects her now? Jamie would look at Bran with confusion. It seems it was all for nothing then. Jamie's face would become stern, and he would walk away. We would then cut to Dany in her tent. Grey Worm enters. Your Grace, our spies have confirmed what you suspected. Samuel Tarly and Sansa Stark were seen speaking together. They are likely conspiring. What should we do? Nothing right now. We wait. Thank you, Grey Worm. Grey Worm turns to leave. Grey Worm. I miss her. This one, I miss her too. Do you need to be held? Missandei of Nath would hold me, and it would make me happy. I don't want to be happy. I want to avenge her. I want to destroy all of your enemies. Grey Worm, I promise you, you'll get what you want. We would then cut to Brienne, finding Jamie packing up supplies on his horse. You're leaving. You're going back to her, aren't you? I am. You are just a liar, a traitor, and an oathbreaker. Jamie would stop and turn. Let me ask you something. Why did you follow Renly Baratheon? That catches Brienne off guard. It was my duty. He was my king. No, Tarth is in the Stormlands. If not Joffrey, Stannis was your true and rightful king. An older brother does come before the younger. No. Yes, and I even heard you beheaded Stannis, your rightful king. I needed to bring him justice. For murder. As if Ramsay wouldn't have done that 1,000 times over. Strange that you were somehow in the middle of a battlefield when Sansa Stark, the girl you vowed to protect, was trying to escape. I did save Sansa, by sheer happenstance. I pushed a boy from a tower and he happened to live. Does that make me better than a murderer? Brienne would not have a response. She is shocked, confused, and speechless. Oh, you play the honorable role. But you're the liar, the traitor, and the oathbreaker. Brienne would punch Jamie, and Jamie would fall over. On his hands and knees, he would look up at Brienne. And a Kingslayer. She would kick him. Jamie would start laughing. All for Renly Baratheon. She kicks him again. The things we do for love. Brienne would then stop. Jamie would slowly get to his feet. I love Cersei. I vowed to be with her. And I'm no oathbreaker. Brienne would be silent, and Jamie would stumble to his horse. He would mount and ride off. We would then cut to Euron aboard his ship in White Harbor. A knock would be at his door. Come, Euron would yell. We have taken prisoners, Your Grace. We thought you would want to greet them personally. Euron's face would light up. Ah, some entertainment for the evening. Bring them in. In walks first the Hound, and behind him would be Jaime Lannister. The Kingslayer! Euron would be ecstatic. How could someone like you be so clumsy to be caught? It was his hand, Your Grace. We saw it in the moonlight. Jaime would lift up his golden hand. Chain them in the brig, and tell the fleet to hoist sails. We return to King's Landing. What of Daenerys' forces? They've marched far enough that they won't be doubling back. The Hound and Jaime would be chained up below deck, and Euron would be left alone with his prisoners. This is so very, very interesting. The great Sandor Clegane. And you! I would have never expected to have you here. A real-life faceless girl. Ah, this is so very, very interesting. Euron would laugh and leave the room, shutting the door, and leaving the Hound and Arya in darkness. We would then cut to Harry Strickland, camped between the swamps of the Neck and the Twins. Sir, a captain would say, we have the leader of the captives for you. Bring him in. It's Jon Snow. He's tied to a post holding up Strickland's tent. I was certainly not expecting to find the Warden of the North in the swamps of the Neck. I take it you have come to treat on behalf of Daenerys. No, sir, says Jon. I don't have the authority to do that. Then why are you here? I've come to arm you. In exchange for... nothing. I've brought you dragonglass, obsidian, It kills the dead. You'll need it. Why would you want to help us? Because you're living, and what's coming for you is not. Do you know the history of our company? Not well. We were formed by Bittersteel to put the Blackfires, the true kings, on the throne. One of our would-be kings, Aenys, was once invited to King's Landing as part of a great council to decide who would be the leader of Westeros. It sounded too good to be true. After years and years of fighting, Aenys could peacefully take the throne. Do you know what happened? The Hand executed him. Since then, the Golden Company has been less trusting of diplomacy. There's no tricks. There may not be enough dragonglass for everyone, but it will help. You yourself can even use my sword. It's Valyrian steel. Strickland would look puzzled and skeptical before hearing a ruckus outside. Harry runs outside into the night to see blue flames descending from the sky. It's the Night King riding Rhaegal. Scorpions would fire off giant arrows into the sky. Several would actually hit the undead dragon. None of them would have any effect on it. The dragon makes a pass through the camp, burning things right and left. A gust of powerful wind blows over Strickland's tent. Jon is buried beneath the canvas. "The dragonglass!" Harry would yell. "Affix dragonglass to the scorpions!" The Golden Company would rapidly begin tying dragonglass arrows to bolts of the scorpions. The stash of dragonglass daggers, though, would go untouched. Strickland himself would run from scorpion to scorpion, making sure they're attached. "Fire!" he begins to yell. "Fire!" The scorpions begin shooting round after round. They miss. They miss. They miss. Finally, a bolt successfully hits Rhaegal in a wing. The dragon screams and begins to crumble, sending the Night King to the earth off in the distance. The Golden Company is silent. And then they erupt in cheers. Harry Strickland grins from ear to ear. "We did it!" he yells. "We did it! Beneath the gold, the bitter steel!" the crowd yells in response. Then a cold wind cuts the celebration short. They look in the distance and see a mist. And in that mist, wights. Thousands of wights, running at them at full speed. He would look down at his sword. "The bitter steel," he would mumble. He would look over to the dragonglass stash, so very far away from him. The wights would come upon them, and we would cut away. In the morning, we would see the fallen tent of Harry Strickland. Jon would emerge, finally able to free himself from the tent. He stands up and looks out over the battlefield. It's deserted. Completely deserted. And completely frozen. And that would be the end of the episode. We will continue on next time with episode 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.